Hey there, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. So a lot's going on in Maine right now, it looks like. I'm looking at a couple of stories here, and there are several broadband build-outs going on right there in Maine, and a lot of it does not have anything to do with any federal funding. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So as I mentioned, I was looking at a couple of stories here about the state of Maine and some service providers that are building out fiber. And it's interesting because they're just doing this now I don't see anything related to any federal funding or state funding really for these build outs. So I think these are service providers trying to stake out a claim. In some areas, it's probably trying to get fiber in the ground in areas that are considered unserved or underserved today, so that they are claiming that area, so that new federal funds coming sometime maybe next year with bipartisan infrastructure law will not be relevant then in these particular areas. In one case, it's a service provider doing a lot of overbuilding of an existing operator there. So I wanted to look through these stories real quick, and then I wanted to look at the state of broadband in Maine according to their broadband map to see what that looks like. Because they do have a map there, and I was just curious, how much is covered and how much is not. So here we see this story about TDS building fiber networks in almost 40 Maine communities. They've announced fiber projects across 37, it says here, Maine communities. The overall initiative will bring upload and download speeds as fast as 2 gigs to about 21,000 addresses across the municipalities. So they're looking at symmetrical 2 gig speeds, and they list some of the towns here, communities. You can, I don't know Maine, so I see Salem there. I see a lot of these do look like smaller towns. So these may be areas that right now don't have, they might have broadband in certain areas. And when we look at the map, you'll see this. They might have broadband on certain areas and certain streets and not on others. When I say broadband, I mean faster, higher speed broadband. In addition to connectivity, residential subscribers will have access to TDS TV Plus, so they're still offering a pay TV option, which is a good idea, which integrates this with streaming services and offers cloud DVR and other features. Businesses will have access to 10 gigs dedicated connections, TDS TV Plus, and hosted VoIP, so they're doing VoIP as well. And again, these are both IPTV and VoIP are great things to do if you're going to be providing fiber service. You don't want to be just a connection. I mean, you might as well sell services on top of that. So these are two good services that you can offer. Even though people have cell phones now and they're streaming stuff, there's still a market for a linear pay TV offering, and there's certainly still an offering or a market for voice over IP. Maine residents got 2 pieces of connectivity news last month. The state is one of 12, along with Guam, I'm assuming that's Maine, that will divide $277 million in grants from the Broadband Infrastructure Program. The awards were made by the NTIA, so that's separate from this. So that's talking about other projects that are going on that have got funded from the NTIA. Early in the month, Arcturus Impact Investors said that it will build fiber networks in distressed rural, urban, and suburban areas, including opportunity zones in the state. That is an area where there's some concern, in addition to rural areas where there's just never been a build out. If you've got areas that are economically depressed, a lot of times a service provider won't go into that area because again, they don't have enough people that can afford the service, so therefore they don't get a return. Now with the Affordable Connectivity Program, they should be going into those areas and they can offer the $30 subsidy, but it looks like this particular project here is going to be targeting those types of areas. The public-private partnership includes Great Works Internet. The Finance Authority of Maine is providing 20% leveraged loan insurance and other assistance on that. So this is a public-private partnership. So that would be a public company going into partnership with a private company to be able to put this all together. So sometimes it does take 2 or so to get these things done, and that's a good strategy to use. Then I saw this other story. Central Maine area among 150,000 around the state to get fiber internet service. And this is Consolidated Internet. Consolidated Communications is building the biggest fiber optic network in Maine, and said it plans to offer connections to tens of thousands of homes and businesses by the end of the year. The telecom company is busy installing fiber optic cable in some of the state's most densely populated areas, which is very interesting, intensifying its competition with the cable companies that dominate Maine's residential internet market. So right now the cable companies are dominating, and they're coming in and they are overbuilding these cable areas. So again, this is something they're doing on their own, and I can only presumably think that they are doing this to try to get this fiber in the ground before these cable companies do. So the cable companies may not be upgraded. These may be smaller cable operators that are maybe not on DOCSIS 3.1, assuming they're on DOCSIS 3.0, but they're not offering maybe the fastest speeds these days as far as what you could get on cable. So I think you've got this fiber operator coming in here and saying, well, we're going to go ahead and get fiber in the ground, and then they're going to try to get some of those subscribers. It's going to be hard unless unless there's also customer service issues with the cable operator. People don't always like change. So there needs to be a reason for somebody to move. And if sometimes price is an issue, sometimes customer service is an issue, sometimes the quality of the service is an issue. But if all three of those things are okay, then they're going to have a hard time getting a lot of subscribers here. So this is a little bit risky. The company intends to offer fiber optic service to 150,000 Maine homes and businesses by the end of this year, 2022. If it is building networks in Portland, so you can see here, a bigger city, Portland, Biddeford, Saco, and then the Augusta area, Rockland, Waterville, Falmouth, and Bangor. So these are some bigger areas. The goal is a comprehensive network covering nearly all of the customers in the communities Consolidated is targeted. My experience having built these networks a lot is it's always hard to get to the last house, he said. Our intention is to build out to the majority of the homes that are in our service territory in those towns. And that is a problem, and that's why the federal funds are available to build out to those really hard to reach last homes. But in this case, I suspect these homes are already reached by the cable operator. So they're going to be putting fiber in, overbuilding where they can, and maybe some of these further out places where the cable operator already has infrastructure, but it's a more costly run. They may not do that. Maybe that's what they're saying. Now, if they were taking federal money, they would be required to build out to all these homes, but they're not. So they're not required to do that. Consolidated's main plan is part of the company's overall shift to becoming a major fiber optic internet provider. In 2020, the company secured $425 million from a private investment firm. So again, they've got private funding to accelerate broadband internet build-out. The next year, Consolidated launched Fidium, its internet service brand, and extended service to 330,000 U.S. locations, according to its annual report to shareholders. The company plans another 400,000 connections in 2022 and 1.6 million locations by 2026. Further build-out in Maine is expected in coming years. So these guys are building out quick. Consolidated advertises gigabit per second connections for an introductory rate of $70 per month, including equipment for home Wi-Fi networks, slightly cheaper than rates offered by Spectrum and Xfinity cable brands. So it sounds like they're going to be a little bit less expensive, but it's a promotion offer. It's promotional, so after the one-year introductory period, Consolidated's monthly price increases to $95 a month. So do not be surprised, if you live in Maine, that the prices that are just now slightly higher from the cable operators will go down, and they will also offer, I'm sure, an introductory plan. They could go way lower than this. So again, it's going to be a challenge for Consolidated if price is the issue. If there are serious concerns about quality of service, then they have a better chance of getting somewhere. I think it was saying that, here it is, oh yeah. Many of the areas Consolidated is targeted are already served by high-speed internet and therefore not eligible to use for state or federal money to expand fiber optic service, Schaefer said. Despite being able to access high-speed internet, reliability and affordability remain concerns, and there is pent-up consumer demand for fiber to the home. So they're saying that they've heard that this is a situation, but of course, people, usually you hear the negatives. You don't always hear the positives, or people will complain about the service. And like I say, it needs to be really bad for them to pick up and leave because it's a hassle, basically. Competition will help drive down costs. That's true. So again, these cable operators, if they're priced at a certain point, will be lowering their price. And so competition is good in that sense. Consolidated, formerly named Fairpoint Communications, so Consolidated was Fairpoint, is the state's largest telecommunications company and has an existing network of landline telephone lines, she said. That means the company can rapidly install new fiber optic lines. They have a cost advantage and a time advantage because they own the poles and they are on them already, Schaefer said. So that is a big deal. So they're already providing phone service out there. So they've got these telephone poles up already. They don't need to worry about pole attachments. They got to do pole attachments themselves, but they don't have to go secure that and lease space and worry about all of that stuff. They may even be able to use some of what they have already up there. So Interesting that they're doing the overbuilding. So again, I decided to look at the Maine map here, and I was going to take you through that as well as we check this out. So here, this is the Maine broadband map. I'll zoom in a little bit. And this one's a little different than some of the other ones that I've looked at. I was looking for like blocks of areas that are served, but they're not doing it that way. They're doing it more the way that I think the new FCC maps will be displaying it, which is on a road by road basis. So you could pull up an address, and you can see, you can search for an address right here on the left. But you can pull up an address or an area in the map and see what type of service that particular road has. So that's kind of cool. So if I go to the legend here, we can look at that. So you see here, you got areas with, it's hard to see, you've got to, unfortunately, got to scroll. So areas with internet connectivity reported at least 100 by 100, that's the blue. Then green is less than 100 by 100, and then you got yellow is less than 50 by 10 and at least 25 by 3. Then orange is areas that are less than 25 by 3, but at least 10 by 1. So we're starting to talk here about below the definition of broadband from the FCC. And then areas with internet connectivity reported at less than 10 by 1 are red. And you can see quite a bit of red here. So if this map is accurate, there certainly are areas in Maine that need to be served. And what we're looking at here, as far as the definitions of unserved and underserved in the bipartisan infrastructure law, what you'd be looking at for unserved is anything 25 by 3 or less. So that would be your, let's say less than 25 by 3, that would be your orange areas. And then 100 by 20 would be underserved, and that would be, let's see here, at less than 100 by 100. So that would really be, it's not completely the same metric, but that would even be your green areas, would be your underserved. If they're less than 100 by 100, then they're going to be kind of in the 100 by 20 range. So again, you see lots of areas here. So I was going to zoom in a little bit, and I'll close this. And we'll zoom in. So again, you can see certain areas where I've got, like these are the counties here. Oh, and this is a area that's got funding from the state, I believe. Yeah, purple is ConnectME infrastructure grants completed, and then the lighter purple is those that are in progress. So there's not too many of those, and we'll zoom out again for a second here. So here you see, some lighter areas that are in progress, and these are completed as far as state grants that were done. So we come out there, you can see those. There's some down here. But again, as I zoom in, I see lots of red streets. Now you've got the Dover Foxcroft here. As I zoom in further, a lot of times this is what you see. So maybe in the center of this town area, you've got green in here. I'm not seeing a lot of blue. That's a river, because I see lots of red, I see green. So these red areas obviously are targets for TDS or Consolidated or whoever to come in here. And I would be really surprised if there are cable operators providing service out here. Maybe they are, and maybe they're not DOCSIS 3.1, and if they're DOCSIS 3.0, they should be able to get above the 25 by 3 service. So I'm not sure why there's so much red here, but if this map is accurate, then there is certainly a lot of opportunity here. Again, you see all of these I'm assuming are all streets. You can drill down to the street level. Yep. So I drill down to the street level, I can see I've got some yellow here, I've got some red here, and here's some blue. So these areas apparently are covered by good service here. And you got some yellow, you got some red, so it's really going to vary. It may be depending on where the cable operator have got their lines running. Some of this could be, it's possible. I don't know if TDS is also providing maybe DSL service there, and they're going to be upgrading to fiber. That was not mentioned in the article. Same with Consolidated. I'm not sure exactly what plant they had out here, but anyway, so it looks like Maine does have a lot of areas that can be addressed. So this is just an example of, again, what is going on, kind of the activity that's going on in these areas, or really areas all around the country like this, where fiber is being put in the ground. It's been planned for a while. I think ever since people knew there was going to be federal money coming to serve these areas, plus they knew there was RDOF money that had already been approved. People were out there trying to get these areas covered so that they didn't lose it. So if they're a service provider in an area or it's an adjacent area, they want to get that area covered with fiber as quickly as possible, so that when the FCC maps come out sometime late this year, in the fall, then this area, hopefully they're going to say that this area is either served or that there's a project ongoing that's going to be serving that area, and it will not be on the FCC map as an underserved or unserved area. And like I say, those maps now they're saying are going to be out sometime in the fall, because there's a period of time, I believe it's July through September, when the FCC is going to start collecting data from service providers like TDS and like Consolidated on where they're providing service and what the speeds are. And I'm assuming also where they have projects that are either getting started, planned getting started, or that are in progress, complete, whatever, where they've got service. So they're going to be providing all this information to the FCC between the period of July to September, and I'm sure that's another reason that they're announcing all these things. They want to get this stuff off of the map so that when the maps are ready and the FCC is looking what areas are served and underserved, that their area is not considered that. So that's, I think, all of this activity that's going on. So we're seeing this activity now. We're seeing activity from RDOF, the Rural Development Opportunity Fund. We're seeing it from ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. And we're seeing it just from these private companies or public companies. And companies like Time Warner and Charter and Xfinity are also expanding their services and rolling out fiber in greenfield areas to try to get as much on the map as possible before the FCC maps are done and before these new federal funds become available. So be looking for more of this throughout this year, as we see. So as far as the Infrastructure Act, the NOFO is supposed to come out May 15th or so. So that's a big milestone that we'll be seeing coming up here next month. So we're looking forward to that and seeing everything that's going to be involved there. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully this was helpful. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. That's always nice. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And click the little bell and you'll be notified when I'm live. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.